We have another bit of breaking news, though, on this front regarding a fast-moving investigation into Donald Trump's campaign to overturn the 2020 election, something we actually heard in his own voice on that phone call with Brad Raffensperger. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has been ordered to testify in the Fulton County, Georgia grand jury investigation that is led, of course, by District Attorney Fani Willis. According to reporting in Politico, it was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court in the state of South Carolina. That's where Meadows lives. Their ruling reads in part, quote, "We have reviewed the arguments raised by applicant, in this case Mark Meadows, and find them to be manifestly without merit." If I had to describe their brand, it would be manifestly without merit. Joining our coverage of both these stories, Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News Washington correspondent, moderator of Washington Week on PBS, and Charlie Sykes, editor-at-large of The Bulwark, as well as an MSNBC contributor. You know, Yamiche, the courts take much longer than I think some of us aching for accountability would like them to. But Trump and his cronies keep losing. Mark Meadows being ordered to testify is so huge. He went down to Georgia separate from and in advance of Trump's call with Raffensperger. He was on the call when Trump orders Raffensperger to, quote, find him 11,780 votes. He was a party to everything that went on to try to rig the counting in Georgia.
Certainly. I mean, if you think of former President Trump's White House, he was, he had the title of Chief of Staff. He was also the president's right-hand man when it comes to alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Let's remember that when people at Fox News and other places, right-wing people who were supportive of former President Trump, when they were alarmed on January 6th, it was Mark Meadows that they were texting to say, hey, even for us, this has gone too far. That tells you just how close he was to the president and the fact that he was seen as a sort of gatekeeper to former President Trump when it came to information. He was also someone that repeatedly we heard during the January 6 hearings was someone who really refused to ever reel former President Trump in. You had chief of staffs in the past. You think of General Kelly, who was complicit in some regards, but definitely tried to put up barriers and also tried to say to former President Trump, hey, you cannot do this. Here are the things that just do not seem presidential. By the time you got to Mark Meadows, who was after a number of other chief of staffs had left the White House, he was someone who's very much aligned with former President Trump's views of things, including his obsession, really, I think that's the way you would call it, especially that's the way critics would call it, with trying to get this election, this 2020 election overturned. So it is a very big deal that he might now be forced to answer questions under oath about his conversations with former President Trump, about the efforts to try to overturn the election there. As you said, he was on the call when Trump was saying, get me those 11,000 votes. I think he is someone who will definitely have a lot of information. Of course, we'll see how this turns out. But it seems as though when it comes to Fulton County and you look at sort of Lindsey Graham and what happened with that decision, that people are being told you have to come and you have to be part of this investigation.